In this video, I'm going to give you a few pointers about how to bake with yeast. Baking with yeast might seem a little bit challenging because you want to make sure that your bread or rolls rise. If you have a few techniques, it'll make your life a lot easier when you do bake with yeast. Here I have some bakery yeast. This is fresh cake yeast. This sells for about $2 a pound for a commercial baker. I bought this at a restaurant supply for $2. A retail bakery sold me this for $3. So these are really not that expensive. They go a long way. They're active, they're fresh, they're ready to use. They also sell it at a grocery store. This small package of yeast, it was 2 ounces. It was over $3. So that brings this to over $27 per pound. So it's not really a good value. You can get it at the store, but it's pretty expensive. They also have active dry yeast. I don't even know why they call this active dry yeast because it's completely dormant. It's inactive. When you use it, you have to add hot water, you have to add sugar, you have to wait for it to activate and come to life, and then you have to hope that it works. So I really don't care for using active dry yeast at all. They also started coming out with instant yeasts. Rapid Rise Instant Yeast is a good product. It's dry, and you just add it straight to your recipe, and it will activate and begin to work without pre-activating like you have to do with this older type of yeast. This yeast and this yeast both cost almost $50 per pound, so they're quite expensive if you buy them from the grocery store. Another good option is this called saf yeast. This is a pound brick and it costs under $10. I was able to get it on the internet. This is also an instant yeast. It's a dry powder and it's ready to use. You just add this to your recipe and it always works. Once the package is opened, you could put the remainder of it in a jar and keep it in your refrigerator, and it's not going to go bad. What's left in the jar will last you for probably more than a year. So if you buy a pound of this, you can bake for a long time, and it's not really very expensive at all. So that covers some different types of yeast and what their costs are, but another important factor on baking with yeast is your temperature. Bread really needs to be kept kind of warm. It likes to be about 90 degrees for it to rise well. So when you mix your dough, you want to make sure that you have a good temperature that feels at least lukewarm. You can usually check the side of your bowl to see if it feels lukewarm. If you feel it and it feels just maybe the same temperature as your skin or just a little bit warmer, it's probably just right. If it's cold in your house when you're ready to bake, I would recommend pre-warming your bowl. You could warm your bowl up because if your bowl is cold and you add your ingredients to it, the ingredients are going to cool down and your dough is going to be about 60 or 70 degrees and it's not going to rise well. So by preheating your bowl with some warm water, it gives you a little head start on the warmth. You could also use warm water in your recipe depending on the temperature of your house. If your house is cool and you're baking in the wintertime, use some warm water, but never use warm tap water. Tap water is not potable and you should never use it. You should always take some cold water and warm it up in your microwave oven. After your bread is mixed and your dough is mixed, you want to make sure that the bread itself is kept in a warm location so that it will rise well. Cover it with plastic. That'll help keep the warmth in, and it'll also prevent a skin from forming on the outside of your bread. But if you want to make it rise a little bit faster, you could always take a few sheet pans, place them in a warm oven, heat them up, and if you take your warm sheet pans and place them underneath the bread that you're trying to make rise, that'll add a little bit of warmth to it and that'll help your bread rise a little bit faster. So I hope that you find some of these little pointers helpful and it'll make your life a little bit easier when you're trying to bake some bread or rolls.